Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are immersing ourselves in Tokyo. We're looking at a source itinerary for 2 super packed days of, well, really intentional exploration.
Yeah, this wasn't a relaxing trip at all. It was more like a mission.
Right. A structured effort to capture the absolute best of Tokyo's art, its tech, and that really idiosyncratic culture it has.
And that's what makes this material so interesting. We're not just reading a travelogue, we're like dissecting a strategy.
A strategy for what exactly?
Well, the core tension in these 2 days is between these massive high-tech visual experiences like the immersive art stuff and the really personal, almost quirky cultural stops.
And those are often the ones that turn out to be the most memorable.
Exactly. And the city itself is just, it's built for sensory overload.
For sure. So our mission for this deep dive is to really understand the critical decisions they made. How to maximize time, how to beat the crowds, and how to filter the truly transcendent experiences from the ones that are just kind of generic.
It's like finding a blueprint, the competitive edge for navigating a place like Tokyo.
Okay, let's unpack this. We have to start with the ultimate example of this kind of strategic planning. The visit to TeamLabs Planets.
Yes. The prep for TeamLabs, this was on day 3, is the first major lesson. The pattern was honestly pretty simple.
Wake up early.
Wake up early and hit the prime attraction before the masses arrive. They were there a full 30 minutes before their 9 a.m. entry slot.
The very first slot of the day.
The very first. So that waiting game, even in the heat, with an umbrella and water, it was a small investment for a huge payoff.
But the strategy didn't just stop at the door, right? They knew the attraction was segmented.
Right. They knew it was broken down into, I think, water, the athletic forest, a garden, and an open-air bit. And they had already decided to prioritize the water section.
Because they knew the experience would degrade pretty fast once the crowds poured in.
Exactly. So by heading straight to the water side, they basically guaranteed themselves the least crowded, most profound encounter with the art they came to see.
And that immersion started immediately. You take off your shoes, put your bags away, and then you're walking up an incline of cascading water.
Literally dunking your feet right at the start. Then you get to that room with the squishy floor.
I've heard about this.
Yeah, and they noted the core concept was that you affect the space and the space affects you. So it's not just a gallery you look at.
It's an interactive feedback loop.
Right. And from there, they went into the crystal room, which they described as, let me get this right, beautiful and disorienting and small and massive and everything everywhere all at once.
Wow. That phrase tells you everything. It's that perfect kind of overwhelming.
It is. But the real payoff, the reason they woke up so early, was the water and koi room.
Okay, walk us through this one because the description and the source is just fantastic.
It sounds truly magical. There was mist everywhere, and as you moved through the water, you'd see these koi swimming that would dynamically transform into flowers right as you passed over them.
That's incredible.
And beyond the visuals, they said the cool water felt so good on their tired legs and feet. So it was also like a physical relief that just cemented the memory.
And that feeling of relief, I imagine, just sets the stage for the absolute peak of the experience.
The infinity room.
Yeah.
Which was their stated favorite.
Yeah, I'm really curious about the physics here. How did it work?
The installation uses mirrored floors and a domed ceiling, combined with these amazing light effects, and it completely abolishes your sense of space. It creates this illusion that you're floating through the cosmos.
Surrounded by stars and flowers.
And washing petals. And here's the crucial detail. Because they were first in, there were only 2 other people there.
Oh, that's key.
It's everything. They were able to sit right in the middle, which is what's recommended, and get this moment of pure, solitary wonder that would be totally impossible even an hour later.
So the strategy just paid off completely.
Yeah.
They turned a high-volume tourist stop into something intimate.
A bespoke experience. But as they moved into the other sections, the forest and the garden, the source suggests the returns diminished pretty quickly.
Why was that? Was it just the crowds finally catching up, or was it something else?
I think it was a bit of both, a combination of crowds and, sensory fatigue.
Right.
I mean, the later rooms, like the petal room and the garden with the hundreds of suspended moving orchids, they were visually interesting, for sure.
But busier.
Much busier. And by that point, the high bar set by those empty water installations meant everything else felt a little less impactful. The source notes that the kiddo and their companion were not as impressed by the orchids.
Which tells you that the human brain can only absorb so much beauty before it hits a saturation point.
Exactly. So the lesson is, Hit your priority early because everything after that peak might feel like a bit of a letdown.
That is a really powerful takeaway.
Okay.
Let's shift gears from that intense immersive art to the afternoon's pop culture stop at Tokyo Tower Red.
And another strategic choice here. They took a taxi, protecting their feet. Super smart when you're traveling this densely.
And before they jumped into more high-tech stuff, they took a break. A sweet one.
Yes, they grabbed azuki bean ice cream. For anyone listening who hasn't tried it, azuki is this small red bean used in a lot of Japanese sweets.
So what's the flavor profile like compared to, say, vanilla?
It's got this earthy, nutty sweetness. It's really light and creamy and it's much less cloying than a lot of Western desserts. It was the perfect little palate cleanser.
A gentle contrast. Okay, so then Tokyo Tower Red. The source was pretty brutal here.
It was. They said it would not have been worth the time at all.
A classic tourist trap.
A total textbook disappointment, except for one very specific activity. The robot fighting.
So what exactly was this place? And why was it such a letdown?
It seems like one of those modern entertainment complexes with VR games and things. The disappointment probably came from how generic it was. It wasn't uniquely Tokyo. And honestly, after all that walking, their legs were tired.
So what was this brawn activity they mentioned, the Furious Core? That sounds intense.
Yeah, that's a bit opaque. But given the context, a high-tech activity center, we can probably guess it was some kind of competitive, high-intensity physical game.
Something demanding a lot of energy.
Right. It seems like they were sifting through this big, kind of disappointing place just to find the one specific thing that someone in their group had requested.
The lesson there is that sometimes you have to wade through the generic stuff. After that, they took a really smart break back at their hotel's reading room.
A total energy conservation move. Reading Pokemon and Demon Slayer manga, just chatting over coffee. You need those moments.
For sure. And that rest fueled their evening trip to Akihabara. And again, a taxi to save their feet.
And this area, Akihabara, finally delivered on that image of Tokyo with the bright lights and the giant billboards everywhere.
The dining experience there, sushi in a department store food hall, sounds like it was a real highlight.
It was clearly elevated. They had a tuna sampler, 3 pieces of 3 different cuts and grilled salmon that they said tasted totally different from what they get at home.
But the real star was the shrimp and avocado roll.
Absolutely. And the detail here is so important for understanding Japanese culinary standards. The shrimp was described as so soft and buttery.
Which is a huge contrast to the rubbery and dried shrimp you sometimes find in rolls elsewhere.
That textural difference just highlights the quality of the local ingredients. It's on another level.
And then there was the sake. They had it served in a glass that was inside a wooden box. What's the significance of that?
That little square box is called a masu. Historically, it was for measuring rice, but serving sake that way, where it overflows the glass and fills the box, is a sign of generosity, of hospitality.
So you drink the overflow from the box first.
You do.
Yeah.
It turns just ordering a drink into a small cultural moment.
I love that. After dinner, it was claw games and bright lights, and then a search for some late-night sweets near the Final Fantasy Cafe.
And this is where we take a sharp turn into the super quirky side of Tokyo. They found a place called the Monster Toast Café.
This kind of hyper-specialized cafe is a whole thing there.
It really is. They focus on one, architecturally complex dish, and the chocolate and banana toast they got sounds absolutely insane.
Okay, break it down for us.
So they take a whole loaf of bread, hollow it out, and then fill it with toasted cubes of the bread they just removed, plus bananas, banana ice cream, whipped cream, chocolate sauce,
Oh my God.
and a side of honey. It's an engineering feat. But they said it was surprisingly good and, more importantly, really filling. It's an edible spectacle.
The final food stop of the night was ramen. They got tonkatsu, which is pretty standard,
Yeah.
but then they discovered something new.
Hakata ramen.
Right. What makes Hakata different, and why was it such a big hit?
Well, tonkatsu is that rich, milky pork bone broth. Hakata ramen is a regional specialty, usually from Fukuoka, and it keeps that white soup broth, but its signature is these extremely thin street noodles.
Ah.
They're designed to cook really quickly. And the source just said they love the white soup and the thin noodles. It just proves that seeking out those regional niche varieties is where you find the real gems.
What a day. Okay, let's jump into day 4. It was supposed to be an easy walk day, but they still clocked over 3 miles.
Of course they did, and before they even left the hotel, they hit that minor but intensely relatable travel
The
disaster.
laundry fail.
The dreaded laundry fill. The hotel's washer-dryer combo. The dryer just didn't work, so they had damp clothes spread out all over the room. It's that little moment of friction that reminds you you're really traveling.
Definitely. So after sorting that out and packing for their next stop, Kanazawa, they headed out for the day.
The morning started in Ginza, the high-end shopping district. After coffee at a Starbucks Reserve, another one of those necessary structured breaks, they found the unexpected highlight of the entire day.
The craft workshop.
At a bridal gift store, of all places. And this is a perfect example of what luxury travel in Tokyo is becoming. It's not about monuments, it's about these bespoke, hands-on experiences. They spent time making their own personalized chopsticks.
What did that actually involve?
It was a whole detailed sensory process. They started with raw wood, shaved it down, sanded it smooth, oiled it, and then got it engraved. They chose pink rosewood and a dark red color.
The value there is just immense. You're not buying a souvenir, you're creating one.
Exactly. It's a permanent functional memory of the trip. That kind of interaction is so much more impactful than just, generic sightseeing.
Speaking of which, they did walk the main strip of Ginza. They saw the beautiful buildings and even spotted the Zuko store clock tower.
Which is a very specific shout-out for anyone who's seen Godzilla Minus Zero.
A quick little nod to pop culture before moving on. Lunch was at a cute street bistro, and then they went to an Art Aquarium exhibit.
Which was, interestingly, located inside a department store. They said it was small but unique, which continues that theme of finding these curated visual treats instead of, massive, overwhelming museums.
They finished the afternoon with an hour of just decompressing at a Kittyland bookstore before hitting the organized chaos of Tokyo Station Character Street.
Which sounds completely overwhelming, just shops dedicated to every anime and cartoon character you can imagine.
And all of this was building up to the grand finale, which I think perfectly summarizes the value of investing in the quirky.
The ninja restaurant?
This was clearly the theatrical high point. The source calls it crazy and so much fun.
And I think the food was almost secondary to the theater of it all. What made it so transcendent was the personal interaction. Their waiter, who was fully in character as a ninja, was lauded for having the greatest voice, for being genuinely funny, and for performing a full magic show right there at their table.
Wow. So it wasn't just service, it was a private performance.
A private performance designed just for them. And that kind of engaging, human-centered experience is always going to create a stronger memory than any view from a tower.
What a phenomenal way to end their time in Tokyo. So they wrapped up, forwarded their main luggage to Kyoto, another brilliant strategic move, and then took a taxi to catch the Shinkansen.
So when you synthesize this whole intense itinerary, the core lesson is really clear. Success in a city like Tokyo is defined by maximizing your access to quiet wonder and high-value interaction.
It's the military precision of getting into TeamLabs early to secure that solitude.
And it's the conscious investment in personalized, hands-on things like the chopstick crafting or that theatrical dinner at the ninja restaurant.
And the food journey just perfectly mirrored that contrast. It moved from the refined subtlety of buttery shrimp and steak traditions to the niche discovery of Hakata ramen and the just architectural absurdity of that monster toast.
Tokyo really rewards the explorer who looks beyond the surface.
It does, and it raises a powerful question for you, the listener, as you plan your own travels.
If the goal is to fully experience a city's unique, often quirky personality, how much time should we consciously budget for these highly interactive, unexpected experiences, like a personal ninja performance, over the traditional passive act of just visiting an iconic landmark?
Because sometimes the memory you make is more valuable than the picture you take.
Food for thought.
Indeed. Until next time, keep diving deep.